Who doesn't love a good meatball? Firm yet delicate, silky, luscious, hearty, all in one. I'm going to teach you how to make the perfect meatball. Welcome to Cooking with Chef Tuan, and as usual, all the ingredients will be linked in the description box down below. Today we have some beef chuck, some pork shoulder, whole milk, bread, parsley, garlic, pecorino romano, egg as our binder, and our mire, which I ran through a food processor. Now you don't have to grind your own meat, but if you do, it's very important that everything is cold from the meat to all your grinding tools. Starting off with the largest die, we're gonna go for our initial grind, just to make sure everything is ground up. Then we're gonna switch to our smallest die to make sure all the meat gets very finely ground, just like so. It's gonna create a really silky, delicate meatball. Once this is done, put this in the fridge and we're gonna work on our mirepoix. A majority of meatball recipes I see out there use garlic and onions. I want to add a little bit more complexity by adding carrots and celery as well. Think of it as building a base of flavors just like you would if you were making a bolognese sauce. All we're looking to do here is just to saute the vegetables until they're nice and soft, little translucent. We don't want to lose the moisture because that moisture is going to keep our meatball nice and tender. Put your mirepoix on a plate to let it cool. You don't want to add hot foods to cold meat. It's a big no-no. Now onto our bread. Leave the crust onto the bread. I don't understand why people cut the crust off if you're going to add milk or sometimes water or stock to make a panade. Everything is going to get nice and soft. Just add about a quarter cup of milk or just enough to make this paste. And before we start making the meatballs, take a sheet pan lined with foil and brush it with some avocado oil. We're gonna be baking our meatballs on here. Now it's time to make the meatballs. Take your meat mixture, season it with plenty of salt, about half a tablespoon or so, and black pepper. We're gonna add in our cooled, sauteed mirepoix, fresh chopped parsley, and then with the pecorino romano, you can go ahead and add all of it if you want. I'm just gonna save a little bit on the side for a garnish. And if you don't have pecorino, you can definitely substitute Parmesan cheese. Next goes in our bread and milk mixture, our panade, which is going to help bind and introduce moisture to our meatball. Crack in one whole egg for your binder, and then with your hands, just squeeze the mixture through your fingers to make sure that everything is very evenly and well incorporated. You don't want to use a KitchenAid or to whip up these meatballs because it's going to make them tough and gummy. Once it's mixed, put this back in the refrigerator for 30 minutes to let it firm up. Meanwhile, you can clean up your kitchen before we start forming our meatballs. When it comes to forming meatballs, you can definitely use an ice cream scoop or a spoon. I just want to do it by hand, one less thing to clean up. Here I'm going for a little bit bigger than golf ball size. You don't want to pack this really hard because you don't want a dense meatball. So just go and roll the meat mixture in your hand. Gently, you can toss it in between your hands to gently pack it together. Now this size and this recipe gave me 24 meatballs. Back into the fridge while we heat up our oven. Now if you don't have an Ooni, which I am not being sponsored by them by the way, but if you don't have an Ooni, preheat your oven to about 425, 450 degrees and just brown your meatballs. Now in an oven, you can just leave it and turn it halfway through, but in an Ooni, every position that I put it on, I rotate it after 2 minutes. What I'm looking for is a nice caramelized outside shell, just like you see here. And then I'm going to flip the meatballs over to give the bottom a little bit of love and care. Like I mentioned before, the most important thing that we're looking for is a nice caramelized outside. In this Ooni pizza oven, it took me around 10 minutes or so to achieve what I was looking for. After 10 minutes, I just shut off the heat and let it sit in here for about another 5 minutes. I'm looking for an internal temp of 150 to 155. You let it rest for about another 10 minutes. It's gonna go up in temperature. And as you can see, not a lot of juice has come out of the meatballs. And now I'm just putting my meatballs into a marinara sauce that I made just to keep them warm. They're already fully cooked. I just wanna keep them warm. My sauce is San Marzano tomatoes, garlic and basil, and a little bit of salt and olive oil. That's all there is. Now our meatballs are done. You can use it any way you want. Spaghetti meatballs, a meatball sub, however you want. I just want a plate of meatballs, pecorino, olive oil, garnished with a salad. That way I can tell my mom I had my greens. And now let's bring this outside and look at what we have here. These are some gorgeous looking meatballs with a little bit of marinara sauce, basil, let's bring this inside and dig in. Sorry I haven't shaved, guys. Wasn't my intention to make a video, but I got inspired. I was looking at the uni and I was wondering I was trying to figure out what I wanted to eat. Didn't have any dough for pizza, but I had some meat, so I made some meatballs in the uni, and I gotta tell you, it's looking pretty awesome. My sauce is just San Marzano, garlic, and basil, and I just crushed the tomatoes through a food mill, sauteed the garlic, olive oil, basil, and just some salt, and so it's just a basic tomato sauce. But here are the meatballs. Look at how awesome this is. Soft, juicy, that you can see the juice on the inside. Look at all that. Amazing. A nice crust on the outside to seal in the flavor and seal in the juices. I'm gonna give you guys another taste of that meatball. Look at that. All right, let me flip this fork around close up. Oh man, you see that? Really soft. It's a light and fluffy meatball. It's not dense. Just the other week, I went out to a restaurant somewhere and my friends and I ordered some meatballs, and it was a dense meatball. It felt like it was just kind of crushed together, and you know, it's you don't want it too dense, but at the same time you don't want it to completely fall apart. You just want it to like lightly crumble when you cut through it, so when you're chewing it, it just crumbles in your mouth, right? I'm kind of in the school, imagine you're eating like a perfect piece of nigiri sushi, and you put the rice and the fish in your mouth, and the rice ball just kind of breaks apart as you're chewing it without too much effort. That's how I want my meatball anyways. Some of you like it more firm, some of you like it more dense or less dense. It's all up to you. Amazing. It's all about temperature control, rotating the meatball, make sure it doesn't stay in one spot, make sure it doesn't burn. And you don't want the heat too aggressive. You know, the floor of my oven was maintained around like 375, 400 during the whole cooking process. I kept therming it. I don't think I captured that on camera, but I was thinking, you know, the floor is about 400. The flames are kind of intense. That's why I flipped the meatballs halfway through. And look what we got here. Just a beautiful, beautiful, flavor-packed meatball. Oops. Meatball packed full of flavor, full of umami from the pecorino, and the sofrito just adds more moisture, and the bread and the milk, the panade, or as you would call, really helps make this a really soft and tender, luscious meatball. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, guys, do me a huge favor. Drop a like down below. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. It'll really help my channel, and I really, really tremendously appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much again. Take care of yourselves, and as always, peace.